Let's now talk about the square root of 0. So here are the rules for squares. I explained why these are the case in a previous set of videos called multiplying and dividing positive and negative numbers. A positive number times itself is equal to a positive number. A negative number times itself is equal to a positive number. 0 times 0 is equal to 0. Now let's find the square root of 0. The square root of a number is a non-negative number that if you multiply it to itself, you get the original number. So we can only use the last equation, and so we know that square root of 0 is equal to 0. Let's now talk about the even root of 0. Here are some rules for exponents. A positive number to an even positive integer is equal to a positive number. A negative number to an even positive integer, so that is a negative number times negative number times a negative number, and so on. And we would end up with an even number of negative signs, and so that would be a positive number. 0 to an even positive integer is equal to 0. Now let's find an even positive integer root of 0. The even root of a number is a non-negative number which to the power of the even root yields the original number. So here's the answer to the exponents problems of 0. Here is the power of an even positive integer, and here's the base of 0. So the even positive integer root of 0 is equal to 0. Let's now talk about the cube root of 0. Here are rules for cubes. A positive number cubed is equal to a positive number times a positive number times a positive number, and that would be a positive number. A negative number cubed would equal a negative number times a negative number times a negative number. We have an odd number, a negative signs, and so that would be a negative number. 0 cubed is equal to 0 times 0 times 0, and so that would be 0. Now let's find the cube root of 0. The cube root of a number is a number that if you multiply it to itself and do that again, you get an original number. So we can only use the last equation here, and so the cube root of 0 is equal to 0. Let's now talk about the odd root of 0. Here are some rules for exponents. A positive number to an odd positive integer is equal to a positive number. A negative number to an odd positive integer is equal to a negative number times a negative number times a negative number, and so on, and we'll end up with an odd number of negative signs, and so that would be a negative number. 0 to an odd positive integer is equal to 0. Now let's find the odd positive integer root of 0. The odd root of a number is a number which to the power of the odd root yields the original number. So here is the answer of the exponents problem of 0. Here is the power of an odd positive integer, and here's the base of 0. So the odd positive integer root of 0 is equal to 0. So we talked about positive even integer root of 0 and positive odd integer root of 0. So we talked about positive integer root of 0. But what about any positive root of 0? Here are some rules for exponents. X to a positive power is not equal to 0. Here's why. We already explained why the zero product property is true in this set of videos. It states that if the product is 0, then one of the factors must be 0. Now, factor means one of the numbers being multiplied together. Because of this, then if none of the factors are 0, the product must not be 0 either. We know this is the case for x to the positive power because x is not equal to 0 in this set of videos. And also, the definition of exponents is repeating multiplication. Additionally, 0 to a positive power is equal to 0. Now, we explained why this is the case earlier in this set of videos. Now, let's find positive root of 0. If a to the b is equal to c, then the b root of c is equal to a. So we need the answer to the exponents to be 0, so we cannot use the inequality that x to a positive power is not equal to 0. So here is 0 as the answer to the exponents for the second bullet. Here is the power of the positive number, and here is the base of 0. So the positive root of 0 is equal to 0. Here is another way to explain that the positive root of 0 is 0. The property of exponents that the b root of a is equal to a to the 1 over b. If I explain why this is the case in a future set of videos, I plan to have a link in the description of this video. But anyway, this means that the positive root of 0 is equal to 0 to the 1 divided by positive. Now 1 divided by positive is equal to a positive number. So the positive root of 0 is equal to 0 to a positive number. So the positive root of 0 is equal to 0, as we explained earlier in this set of videos, that 0 to a positive number is equal to 0. Now, what about the negative root of 0? Here are some rules for exponents. A positive number to a negative number is equal to 1 over a positive number to a positive number. Now, that is using a property about exponents. And I explain why that is the case in the future set of videos I plan to have linked in the description of this video. But anyway, a positive number to a positive number is a positive number. So that would be 1 over a positive number, and that is a positive number. A negative number to a negative even number is equal to 1 over a negative positive even number, and that is equal to 1 over a positive number, because a negative to positive even number is equal to negative times negative times negative times negative, and so on, and we'll end up with an even number of negative signs, and so that would be positive. So we have 1 over positive, and that is positive. Negative to a negative odd number is equal to 1 over negative to a positive odd number, which is equal to 1 over negative, because negative to a positive odd number is equal to negative times negative times negative, and so on, and we end up with an odd number of negative signs, and so that would be a negative. 1 over negative is equal to negative. And also, we explained earlier in the set of videos that 0 to a negative number is undefined. Now let's find the negative root of 0. Now I cannot use this first equation because the answer to this exponent problem is positive and not 0. We cannot use the second equation because the answer to this exponent problem is positive and not 0. We cannot use a third equation because the answer to this exponent problem is negative and not 0. And the fourth one we can't use because it's undefined. So that means that the negative root of 0 is nothing, or that it is undefined. Let's now look at this in a different way. There's a property of exponents that the b root of a is equal to a to the 1 divided by b. So the negative root of 0 is equal to 0 to the 1 divided by negative. 1 divided by negative, that is positive divided by negative, and as I explained in the previous set of videos called multiplying and dividing positive and negative numbers, that would be a negative number. So the negative root of 0 is equal to 0 to a negative number. 0 to a negative number is undefined, so the negative root of 0 is undefined. Thank you for watching this video. Here is a link to the playlist about some properties of 0 and which this video is a part of. Feel free to click on this link.